Listen, we recently covered You Should Have Left, and many of you agreed with that title, but here we have another Airbnb movie called The Rental, which I personally think is a decent rent it, and it's fitting that it's Dave Franco's directorial debut, since that's exactly what he was paid in his first job.
Was at a mom and pop video store when I was 14. It was actually illegal for me to be working there at that age, and so they essentially paid me by allowing me to take home as many movies as I wanted, and so that became my film school.
It stars his wife Alison, Brie, alongside Sheila, Dan Stevens, and Lip, and it's one of those that won't leave you wondering if there's cameras in your Airbnb. It'll have you asking where.
I still use Airbnb, and I actually stayed in an Airbnb while filming this movie.
Let me explain.
Would have been extra creepy if that worked.
So Franco co-wrote this with Joe Swanberg, who we worked with on Easy, and he clearly paid attention while he was on that show. It's definitely more of a relationship drama caught up in a horror movie, which I personally enjoy. But for genre fans, it is also shot by the same guy who did a couple episodes of Atlanta, specifically Teddy Perkins.
I work with a friend of mine. He's a rapper.
Rap. There's a funny one.
And he also shot Brigsby Bear, which I always plug when I get the chance. So, full spoilers for The Rental. We follow two brothers, Charlie and Josh, who go on a couple's getaway at this remote Airbnb with their wife and girlfriend, but they're always either fighting verbally, physically, or with each other's partners.
Yo!
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Hey, sorry, am I interrupting?
Franco stated this was a very personal film for him, and that's why he chose to direct it instead of starring in it like he was going to originally. And while I can't speak for their personal stuff, thank the Lord it's better than these that his brother did. Plus, he can boast he had the first drive-in premiere. To me, the most interesting character was Mina, played by Sheila, who absolutely killed it in We the Animals. She's a CEO who works with Charlie, but gets denied her Airbnb request for their getaway, only for Dan Stevens to get approved about an hour later. As someone who goes to Sundance every year, I've talked about how I experience this every year. I love Utah, but can't say the same back for all of it. Meanwhile, these dudes are comfortable enough to bring a dog.
Mina, how many places have you booked through?
One.
How many places have we booked?
3.
But the worst part is when she confronts the guy. And like, nothing is more dismissive than having friends who don't stand for you at all. And you're smashing 2 of them?
Unfortunately, without your key card, I cannot give you a towel. Hotel policy.
Are you serious? Because the white people that just left did not need to show a key card.
You don't think I experience racism? I do, and it sucks. But how I react to it is my choice. You don't have to give it so much power.
Wow.
You know? In the beginning, like after Argo and Girl, it was like a lot of times I'd get auditions that were like, please have her prepare it like in her natural accent and in the American accent. I was just like, my natural accent is American.
Franco was in Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk, so he's clearly playing off of the reverse of his role there as a renter, and I think he does it successfully, as well as making sure his cast was well versed for their parts.
I also heard that to prep for the movie that you did modeling.
Yes, that is true. For research, we have to do it for research.
They get blasted and party, but drugs aren't enough to hide the fact that Charlie's a cheater who's bitten off more than he can chew. It turns out his relationship with his wife started off as an affair, and the one before that was also an affair. Hell, he's currently in another with his brother's girlfriend.
She's,
She's the whole package.
Right, and he hit the fucking jackpot.
You know it's bad when you go on a getaway with your family and you still can't help to try and get away with other things. In fact, when they find cameras posted up around the house and in the shower, they don't call the cops because they don't want their sex tape to leak, and so something else does instead. We talked about with Control Z how when in times of need, nobody uses their cell phone because, writers are still getting used to adapting their stories with all this tech. That's why a lot of horror movies are struggling with it and how to deal with the quickness of it. And the reason why we see so many callbacks to the 80s and movies being set there, or, they take it overseas so that way they don't have to deal with them. But here...
Oh, but I do not want to see my little brother go to jail for the rest of his life.
I thought it was pretty clever how they write them out, because if they use them, they'll get life. And if they don't, they lose it. Unbeknownst to them, the host isn't a serial murderer hunting them down. It's kind of a flip on 13 cameras and 14 cameras, which also has a creepo spying on people, hosting them hostage, and even selling their panties online. For those who feel they didn't get the creepo they wanted in the rental, we'll rent this one. Instead, it's a previous hostee, not the owner, who sets up everything and is watching them. According to interviews, he's kind of like a jigsaw where he does it off morality. Supposedly he had a whole monologue describing it, where it's insinuating that he kills them once he sees their wrongdoing. So I guess it confirms that the host was alt-right.
How'd you get mixed up with this family?
Then again, unlike Jigsaw, there's no real lesson. It's just some stranger who confronts them with the truth and then slashes them. Obviously, he goes after these two because they're unfaithful, but the first person he kills is Michelle, who's meant to be guilty because she never called the cops when they were supposed to. So there would go my entire Airbnb group. Then there's Dan Stevens, who by the end of it actually stops cheating because he's dead.
I'm sorry, let me explain, please. Okay, first off, where did you find the footage?
I'm about to beat this bitch up.
Dude really said, I'm sorry. You had to see that. Where's the link though? That said, he finally found the one thing he couldn't cheat. The one person I would argue for is Josh, since poor dude was dragged the entire movie. All he was doing was defending his girl, and it was the killer who killed the host and caused the chain reaction.
He's a racist piece of shit who was filming us in the shower, all right? I didn't do anything wrong.
Not to mention, he's already living with enough pain.
In the recording, you said that can never happen again. What were you talking about?
Wow. Shameless. But I guess he did try to dump a body. Mina is the final girl who doesn't last long, considering she's running through the woods looking like a damn construction cone. But they didn't show her body, so there's a chance she may be in a sequel.
Kind of tapping into the mythology of this villain a little bit more.
Yeah.
And potentially taking it international.
I can see how this can be the start of a series where it's a killer who looks to exploit the domestic issues of people trying to get away. That way it's half a slasher, half like the movie Nothing to Hide, where the real story lies in the secrets they're keeping from themselves. But he's definitely going to have to expand on the killer, and it can't be as vague in the sequels like it was here. Like, why was he storing things in a place that wasn't his?
Jesus.
What is it?
Oh, you don't want to know.
I do. We've seen several horror franchises take things overseas and get spin-offs, so considering how ambiguous this killer is, there could be multiple of them out there. It's just a bunch of creepos who stay in Airbnbs, set it up, and then wait for the next group to come in so they could attack them. Even though I feel like at some point they'd connect that the same person is staying in all these murder houses. In fact, I'd love for the killer to set up in a place, and then it turns out that the host is also a killer, and they just start duking it out.
I think it is safe to say that Airbnb will not be sponsoring this film in any way.
You know what's crazy? And I don't know how much I can say, but we've at least had talks with them about collaborating in a certain way.
Bruh, Airbnb's complicit. It's definitely becoming a subgenre in and of itself, and I think this was a decent addition, you know? It's like Keep Watching, but good. It's The Open House, but competent. Honestly, it all depends on how they flesh out this killer and feed into the paranoia of the Airbnb age that we're going through at the moment. But hey, you let the dog live, and Lord knows you can murder dozens in your movie, but as long as you let the pup live, audiences will be there. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I think it's a solid debut from Franco. I know it's not what everybody wants in a horror slasher film, but I thought he surrounded himself with a good cast and crew, and I'm curious to see where he goes from there. I like the fact that he had also the editor from Atlanta and Barry, who also did Kidding. Sean Durkin produced this, and he's got a couple movies that if you like this one, maybe up your alley. The composers have worked on some masterpieces as well, so I would recommend those. It's nothing too crazy, but I am curious if they turn this into a franchise where it will go, since most of the bigger horror series have simple beginnings that thrive on a single fear that sticks with people, so I'm curious to see what will happen with it. Other than that, let me know your theories down below, where you would like the franchise to go, because it's funny to think of it that it's already going to be a franchise, obviously, but I'm curious to know your thoughts, any theories. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and find someone who supports you like these two do.
You know, I would just get in my head a little bit, and I would have some self-doubt, and she was always there just to build me up and just kind of bring my confidence back up when I needed it.
The thing I felt first was so glad that I was going to get to be there for him for his first time directing, like just to witness it.
I've obviously known how talented she is over the years, but being in a position where I was able to just be on the other side of the camera and really watch everything she's doing, she's one of the best.
Do you want me to call you Dave on set? When we're around the actors, he was like, could you call me David Franco?